Hello. The title of episode 16 is Winding Off. She, my teacher, said something like that consciousness, were the breath that makes everything live. That consciousness and mind were not the same, that they were different, but also that there was, at one point of time, a cosmic accident when mind had taken over, but mind being limited and therefore not being able to really access the shining future of humanity. And we therefore needed to have a strong faith until the true consciousness would regain its reign and kingdom. Are there interventions of higher forces? A few days after the birthday of my elder daughter in the year 1993, and after my wife had decided to rejoin us with her baby to our place at the colony, things seemed to be moving to the positive side. But after a few weeks, another ordeal was setting in for us. It was the illness of my elder daughter, after she contracted an unknown viral lung disease, probably catching it at the kindergarten in town. We had put her there in order to offer her some company, as the ashram authorities had refused her due to our connection to the colony. Ed, my daughter, was severely coughing all the time, day and night, continuously losing weight and energy, while we were running up and down from doctor to doctor, from hospital to hospital. But there had not been any clue of how she could have been helped, and she soon reached a critical stage. Here, now, in this presentation, I will not describe the details of our ordeal, but all of us were reaching our limits. We became desperate. It seems she somehow had known about the infections, I guessed, and possibly this had been one of the reasons why she had decided to move in with me back into our old house, leaving her mother and sister at the apartment in town. But then, how come that suddenly out of the blue a group of Russian and Ukrainian healers miraculously joined our place after they had been allowed to travel to India? How come that all of us started to treat my daughter energetically, each day twice, and that she within 2 months was getting better when no modern doctor or medicinal system could help her? And when I took her to Germany after, a specialist in lung diseases there, friend of my sister, after a thorough check-up, including sophisticated x-rays, confirmed the infection, still finding marks of it in her lungs. He told us privately that such type of an attack was said to be practically incurable, expressing his utter amazement when they found out that she indeed already had recovered. Anybody after such experiences would change his life, and so I did. It meant that after experiencing the earthquake and the miraculous cure of my daughter, I would put all of my attention, energies and time exclusively on one goal: developing inwardly, doing the yoga, and enlarging my consciousness in order to realize something new in my life. I would hopefully reach my secret life goals and achieve what I had been struggling for such a long time. The earthquake and the cure of my daughter were the two events that made me finally move on for good. The main lessons that almost had killed me once more and almost killed my daughter, I learned was the insight that I had to change direction. I had to find and choose other ways. Practically, it required also a change in a variety of different things and activities in my personal, daily and professional life. The needed processes, I estimated, would take time, not less than a year. I identified the first two areas I had to focus on and decide immediately. One was my work and business, and the other one was the way I was doing my sadhana and my yoga. In my professional work, the most important involvement appeared to be my role as an industrial consultant representing foreign companies in India. The Indian market was huge and the existing competition without mercy. Either one was swimming or drowning. Any half measure or action would not do. I was either continuing this road or dropping out, and I decided for the later, as my interests had changed for good. Besides, the type of actions and activities one had to do as a consultant in India were not consistent with the life I wanted to have. To let go and drop out professionally required serious negotiations, especially with my German partners. I could do this only personally in Germany, on the spot at their headquarters. After all, I had been given the position to represent exclusively the German company in the whole of India. There were large contracts, agreements and mutual obligations. I could solve this issue only during another trip to Europe. This was due in May and June of the same year, in the middle of the hot season. Also, my daughter had to regain full strength, and I still had to recover from my own illness, after losing about 20 kilos of weight. The amoeba eating my liver had done a thorough job. Besides the boutique of my wife, there was still my own shop in town. I needed to be free from any material obligation outside of the life I wanted to lead, aspiring to be able to act and do only what I was feeling from inside. Running any business in town at this period of my development would not fit. What I needed was undivided attention on my new goals only, without compromise. The boutique owned and managed by my wife anyway caused permanent financial loss, as she was not running it properly. It was too difficult for her to follow the requirement of the business, also because of the baby. Debts were to be paid. So I used the opportunity as a first step into my new direction. When she approached me to help her out once more with more money, I declined. She was shocked and angry. I told her, "For me things have changed as well. You minded me taking up the work as a CAO in Bombay, and you were right. I now suggest we sell both shops and pay your debts. Anyway, we will have more time for the kids and for ourselves, and for the yoga." And she agreed. Within 2 months we managed to sell the boutique to a Kashmiri trader daring the unknown. After finishing the transactions, I informed the landlord who owned the house in which I had set up my larger shop that I would pull out of our lease agreement at the end of the coming year. It would leave me 8 months to arrange everything. In the new year, I wanted to start with a clean slate for myself, so to speak. All of these actions felt good and in harmony what I was to do. We were on our way. The whole family at that time was living again together in our house close to the colony. The apartment in town was gone, the boutique as well. There appeared to be more space to move and to organize things. One of the most important tasks was the schooling of my elder daughter. Our place was at the edge of the colony, very far away from the colony school and its center, separated from it not only by distance, but also by a large local village. There were all the time security considerations and travel problems. My wife one morning requested a talk. She said, "We will have to solve the issue with the schooling of your daughter. After 6 months, she will have to join school. We should either buy a car or purchase a second house, close to the school inside the colony." There was nothing in her suggestion I could not agree to. After reflecting on the problem, but I quietly called Ed, my daughter. I told her, "You will join the school inside the colony next year. Your mother and I are considering to buy another house close to the school or a car, with which we will bring you daily to your school. What do you prefer?" After some reflection, she answered that she would tell me later. No decision was made, but her mother set out to look for a suitable place. She found it soon. The house was small but okay, belonging to a larger settlement, close to the center of the colony at the best possible location. So I took my daughter there one day in order to have a look. Her mother did not know anything about it. We decided for the house, and from then on the matter was settled. We would purchase the place, my wife would take up the renovation. We even decided to add an extension because it was too small for the 4 of us. So we all could move there while keeping the old place and house as a project for the continuation of my activities. To supervise the renovation and construction work would be a full-time job, and my wife liked this type of work. Meanwhile, I had doubled the number of hours I was spending for my physical exercises and my meditation. I used exclusively the nights for it, because during the day there was no gap and opportunity for such a work. I would sleep 3 hours, wake up, do my exercises and rest again till morning. The physical hatha yoga exercises that I had taken up after my slip disc attack years ago were changing as well, but somehow into something I still had no clue of. I still could control the pain in my back and leg exercising daily, but if I stopped for whatever reason, even for 2 days only, the old symptoms and pain would come back. I was reading in my diary, "Whatever comes up, and there is a reason for it. Along with this reason there is also, I am convinced, always an opportunity. I believe in a guiding force behind everything to materialize, maybe even up to the smallest details, actions and movements, and that the reflection of this guiding force is continuously shown in the normal reality of our lives and environment. But we are blinder than chicken and cannot see anything in the absence of a deeper sight and knowledge. The instruments we have in order to perceive more of what is really going on still are our known senses, but even they can be used only efficiently when combined with the clarity of our mind. First, we need to observe, to discover, to put into place, to analyze, and to understand the world we live in as much as we can. There are important signs all over we can discover. The apparent ones, but also the small ones, which we hardly notice and we let go by, without even seeing and registering them. April 4th, 2017. Almost 20 years later, I again happened to be at my house at the colony. What has come up this morning was still the same feeling. That something in my life still is out of place, not solved. A visible element of this is the fact that I up till today have not any clue how I am to put down my roots in any of the available places I have created for me and for others, in different parts of this globe. Usually people, if they are lucky, manage to have one place of their own, where they stay, live and lead their life. Doing this, they create and develop families, work, get friends and supporting networks. They feel at home and at ease to manage their lives materially. Yet, all of these most required goals and benefits, considered to be great achievements in general, are completely eluding me. They are absent in my life. Instead, I own 3 places in different countries of the planet where I practically could be living for good, but I'm not doing it. Lands with houses on it belong to me in India and in Brazil, and I even own a piece of land in the US, in Colorado. Also, I still have strong connections to the property of my parents in Germany, now legally owned by my sister. Even there I could stay any time. For years I'm aspiring to solve the issue of my final settling down, but so far I have not succeeded. I even have given up to try, and I now accept the notion that my way of life may involve running a multicolored organization in different parts of the world, and that I may be a kind of traveler, a gypsy, without real home, wandering from place to place, looking for secret purposes and solutions hidden in the fog of the future. Yet in general, in the outer reality of the collective development on this precious earth, things all over seem to move into a different direction. It becomes more and more difficult to travel and to manage internationally. Globalization works only with sufficient funds and political support. I am now facing the fact that I may not be able anymore to maintain all of my places together, both in terms of management as well as financially, while I keep on playing the troubleshooter, rushing from place to place. This is becoming too expensive. Nor can I handle the increasing difficulties in managing physically the places. I do need other participants for help. But things, socially and politically, everywhere seem to deteriorate. People go crazy all over, and governments are making the life of everybody harder. So, even seen from this point of view, I really have to have both ends meet. Now I'm divorced from my wife, and we live in 2 different houses at the colony. Both of my parents have passed away, and I'm lucky that I managed to improve and to integrate my relation to them, especially to my father, before their demise. This came about when I decided to take up the special training. In my first major course of it, I chose my relationship to my father as a topic, with the aim to solve the psychological problems between us. When I had decided to move to the colony in India for good, many years before, and to give up my career and turn my back on all the values and belief systems my parents cherished so much, he freaked. He verbally disinherited me at least 4 times. I, in turn, did not return to Germany to see my parents for the first 7 years of my stay inside the colony. So, when I finally did, my father was so much out of control of his mind that he was addressing me with a formal Sie, how German formally calls strangers. This situation changed dramatically during the first special training course I was doing in the house of a friend in Germany. A teacher from Holland was leading the course. It consisted of a number of mental and energetic exercises and rundowns that were conceived and designed, I believe, by a genius. With it, as I soon discovered, one can perform not only a number of unbelievable mental processes on oneself, covering large areas of unresolved psychological issues, but later even change the reality of one's life. As the first major topic for a certain major rundown, I had taken this subject that I kept on permanently falling ill with severe colds many times a year. I had no clue why this was happening, and it looked to be a fit topic for therapy. Though I already had quite a number of insights and experiences in this field by practicing their yoga inside the colony since many years, I seemed not to be able to really solve my own major life issues. And when I was playing with the course materials all by myself, I suddenly discovered within the scripts of the materials a major rundown which I knew would help me. I chose a dark corner away from the other participants, sat down and started processing. I landed up with going through one of the major and most important psychological and energetic experiences of my life. It lasted for several hours. And finally, my relationship with my father came up, which was triggering my recurring colds. I realized that this had been the way my subconscious had been reacting to the unresolved conflict underneath. Even homeopathy knows well about these processes. The following day, I returned to the place of my parents in the late evening. It was already dark. I approached the house through the garden to the terrace. Both of them were sitting in the dining room having dinner. My mother opened the glass door, staring at me. I immediately felt the tense, heavy atmosphere. I tried not to react. We exchanged a few words. I mechanically took some food. There was hardly any talk. Later, when I carried the dishes to the kitchen, my mother took me aside. The expression on her face was showing her deep anxiety. With a shaking voice, she was telling me what had happened the night before. My father, at dinner, suddenly had gotten up, gone to the terrace door, while telling my mother that I had arrived, and was standing in front of the door. He had opened it, asking me to come in. But when he realized after a few seconds that his experience was nothing but fiction, happening only in his mind, and that there was nobody there for real, he had collapsed. I asked my mother at what time the event had occurred. She confirmed my suspicion. The vision of my father had taken place at the same time as I was doing the process on him and me, during the special training course the day before. This major event changed our relationship forever, in ways I never could have imagined. From then on, he and I were enjoying our connection for the rest of his life. That was for about the next 10 years. He was dying in my arms. My mother survived him for another 10 years. That she was suffering the last third of her life from breast cancer, she managed to keep secret until the very end. She was a very special being. And I was blessed, a second time after the reconciliation with my father. I was staying with her and looking after her for several months before she passed away in peace. After, my sister, a medical doctor as well, took over the 3 houses of the properties our family owned. Thank you and see you soon.